Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. Today we are going to be having a look at December's exceptional story, The House of Silk and Flame. But as always, at the start of a new exceptional story, I encourage you very much to become an exceptional friend and play these stories for yourself. Not only do you get access to these stories, you get an expanded deck, more actions, and access to the House of Chimes. But without further ado, let's get on with the story. Fog cradles London. The gaslights are too dim to pierce the damp veil. London is quiet in these small hours. Honest people keep indoors, huddled by hearths or tucked under blankets. This is the hour of the wolf. Only the desperate and the deadly are abroad. Tucked up in bed, you are hidden from this dreary sight. Until, suddenly, you are woken from your half-slumber. There is a thunderous knocking at your door. The injurious princess is on your doorstep. Why is she here at this hour? And why has she come to you? One day, we're going to have to find out where all of these royalty learn our address, because this happens a lot. You've never encountered this particular princess before. What on earth is she doing on your doorstep? The injurious princess is dead tired. Coffee revives her a little, but the dark circles beneath her eyes and her gaunt face reveal her bone weariness. "It's my brother," she says, dispensing with awkward pleasantries. "I am an exile from my home. He is a prisoner there." She is heir to a small kingdom, Vestia of the Silk. It is one of the many that speckle the northern coast of the Elder Continent, where the Presperite reigns eternal. A tyrant has risen in Vestia. It is from her that the princess means to rescue her brother. He requires your help. Why you? Your name comes recommended by those who pay attention, the princess says. She sighs, and no one else would help. Having just said her piece, the injurious princess takes a seat on your couch. Despite her evident exhaustion, she perches on the edge of her seat, as though ready to move at a moment's notice. Her fingers drum against the arm of the sofa. A staccato beat. Well, let's start at the top here. Let's inquire after her brother. How does she know that he requires rescuing? The injurious princess scowls. Of course he does. He languishes under the yoke of tyranny. Who wouldn't wish to be liberated? When she speaks, her tone is as even as a well-balanced blade. When the tyrant came to power, I had to leave quickly, like a thief in the night, from my own country. My brother was just a boy, barely 16. I couldn't take him with me, but I made him a promise. She cracks her knuckles. I am a princess. Princesses keep their word. Okay, well, let's ask about the timing. Why now? The princess has been away from Vestia for some years. The injurious princess tells you of Vestia and its great spiders. The alliance that binds them and the doctrine of originality that determines Vestia's wealth. Every spider is assigned a great silk house and weavers. The fruits of that house are unique and thus essential to Vestia's trade. When the spider dies, the house is broken up, its weavers divided among the other houses. I have spies in the tyrant's palace. The House of Silk and Flame is on the verge of closure. When a great spider is dying, one of the royal house must go and end its life. It is tradition. The tyrant means to send my brother, he grimaces. It is an unpleasant task, and one I would spare him from. She is hosting a ball to celebrate my brother's coming into his own by taking on the task. He will be in attendance. That is an opportunity to rescue him, therefore. Seems fair enough. Well, let's ask about the plan. How do you plan on actually rescuing your brother? How will you reach Vestia? And how will you spirit her brother from captivity? The princess has a vast network of favors and alliances, she says. Primary among this network is the city of Arbor, the Red Rose City mired in dream, which was once situated in the Elder Continent. It is through Arbor that you will be able to reach Vestia and meet a contact who can smuggle you into the Palace of Sighs. The princess means to steal the prince from that party before he takes up the blade of Vestia and ends the great spider of the House of Silk and Flame. We will steal him away when he takes carriage to the house. We will then continue there myself. I will see that royal duty done and spare my brother the horror. Okay, well, let's make our decision. You have heard enough to make an informed choice as your involvement in her enterprise. The real question is, am I getting paid? The injurious princess relaxes for just a moment. Her shoulders sink and she takes a breath. Then she is up from the couch, grabs the coffee and knocks it back in one hearty gulp. She shakes her head as you begin to speak. Forgive me. I have lived with disappointment for too long. Actions speak louder than words, as you say here. I will be at Arbor's embassy to London. Meet me there tomorrow if you are with me. If you do not come, I will have your answer. And having said her piece, she makes for your door and out into the London fog. Well, let's go to Arbor, I suppose. Arbor's London embassy resides in a red brick building on a quiet street. The well-heeled drift in and out of languid salons and unnecessary afternoon meetings. It is a place where to speak of money openly would be considered crass, yet the fruits of wealth are everywhere in evidence. The injurious princess waits for you outside the embassy, swigging from a flask. She makes no effort to hide her spider-hilted sword, which hangs from her hip. Passers-by give her looks. They tolerate me because of my rank, she says with a shrug. I'll take any advantage in this city that I can. Shall we? Then enter the embassy. The injurious princess can get from the embassy to Arbor. From Arbor, she can reach Vestia of the Spiders. Arbor has no insight into her activities, the injurious princess informs you. It has no opinion on the legitimacy of Vestia's ruler, nor the princess's claim to the throne. Arbor does not interfere with the sovereignty of other states. Here, the princess is deadpan, and regards the affairs of the royal house of Vestia as a family matter. It would not dream of becoming involved. Despite this, however, you find yourself at the door to an empty room. On one wall, it has a large, ornately framed mirror. Ordinarily, it would be patrolled carefully, but the guards seem to have been sent on an extended luncheon. It appears the patrols here need reviewing. The princess steps through the glass first. You follow. You step out into Parabola, into Arbor, the city of roses. Crimson powder grows under your eyes. Now we get the attar under our eyes. I'm spending a lot of time in the Parabola recently. Far Arbor is resplendent in vast, impossible architecture. Towers soar high above even the tallest buildings of near Arbor. palaces stand 3 times as large as their near Arbori cousins. Hour on hour, the city grows and is dreamed into being. Here at the heart, the city fortifies itself against its new horizons. A tall fortress guards the western wall. Slender, fortified towers standing vigil over the hazy rivers and languid jungles that mark the border of Arbor's dominion. A tower obscures your vision. Near Arbor is hazy and far away. You close your eyes, you can make out another city. Grander and more beautiful. You have permission to stay in Arbor for some time yet. Well, let's focus down on what we need to do here, but hang on a minute, what's this about feeding some of your attar to your squirrel? I want a quizzical squirrel. Pray tell, how do I get a quizzical squirrel? I want one of these. I'm going to have to look up how to get one, I think. But yes, let's go meet the Queen's agent. You need to meet with someone who will assist you here. They are definitely not an agent acting under the orders of Her Roseate Splendor. Of course not. The injurious princess leads you to a rose garden for your meeting. The garden is decorated with statues of sins and errors, excessive love of animals, violent tendencies, drowning in poison. Was this location chosen to deliver a message? Among these statues is a neat stone table. A handsome man sits at the table, looking away from you. The man sat at the table is one of the Queen's artists, identifiable by the chains of roses around their wrists. Artists are labourers and servants in Arbor, not members of government. This one is blind, his eyes empty but for the rose-red attar that falls from the sockets like sand. "Hello," he says as you approach. "My name is Nathaniel. We're meeting a deniable representative. You must understand," he says, ignoring the princess's startled reaction, "that this meeting has never happened. Should there be reprisals from the government of Vestia, we will say you were never here," he smiles. "And, literally at least, that will be true." You dine on sweet chocolate cakes, leavened with honey and cream, and sip silver-hued wine while above the roses grow. The artist's languor gives you the impression of a man who has all the time in Arbor. Let's listen to his proposal. The injurious princess is fidgeting with her sword. It does not seem entirely ceremonial. She is keen to press on. Nathaniel finishes his cake and gets to business. There are 3 arbors. The first, one enters. The second, one aspires to see. And then there is the other one, where Arbor still exists on the Elder Continent. That Arbor still shares some of its borders with Vestia. So we simply have to spirit you from this Arbor into the other. There, you can make your way onward by more quotidian means. He considers the cake in his hand. We are taking a great risk. We, in the general sense, most definitely not the royal. Nathaniel turns to you. I apologize if I'm incorrect in presuming that you are unfamiliar with the governance of the Elder Continent, but you must understand what this may cost Arbor. The Elder Continent is formed of many sovereign states and cities, all ruled by the Presbyter. Were he to think ill of the tyrant of Vestia, help working against her could be more overt, but she has not offended the Presbyter. Indeed, her reforms may make Vestia more valuable to him. He turns and holds the princess's gaze. The Prester saith, every planet in fixed and solitary orbit. Intrigue between nations is forbidden. He smiles languidly. It would do us all good if Arbor could count on Vestia's loyalty in the future. I'm going to remain silent and let the princess do the thinking here. Done, the injurious princess says immediately. It is a small thing for the rightful queen of Arbor to ask the rightful queen of Vestia. Who has asked no such thing, of course, Nathaniel corrects. Of course, the princess agrees. They smile at each other across the table. Well then, Nathaniel continues, to more pressing matters. The rescue of a prince of the blood. Or Silk, I suppose. On the table behind you, Nathaniel lays out a folded hand mirror and a small wooden box, which sits there buzzing. The injurious princess gazes at it with alarm. I think we have terms. Now, Nathaniel says. Are you ready? Yes, let's indicate our readiness to depart. Leave the city of roses behind. I'm afraid you and I won't be travelling in the same manner. You must be blindfolded once it begins. He passes you 2 narrow bands of grey cloth, dull and drab. I shall place them on you after the bees are finished. Bees? He lifts the lid of the wooden box. A cloud of bees swarms towards you, enveloping your face. Involuntary tears spill down your cheeks, mingling the husks of red attar. Tiny bristles brush against your skin. The bees' tongues lap at your fluids, the products of your body, food for the bees. Then, as suddenly as they came, they are gone. Your eyes open onto darkness. Nathaniel has applied the blindfolds as swift as murder. You hear a crisp, snapping sound. He has opened the mirror. A blast of warm air blows across your face. There is a shrill cry of some jungle creature. A rich, silver gold light is dimly visible below the blindfold. Your legs dangle in front of you. You're being carried at some height. A grey blindfold is wound about your eyes. You cannot see. You can only dangle your legs helplessly as your captor carries you onwards through an unforeseen city. You can hear the rattle of chains, the cry of birds in the trees, and a soft and persistent snoring that emanates from all around. The smell of roses is strong and rich and soporific. From the inventive and continuous cursing, you can assume the princess is being carried along with you. Let's risk a glimpse here. We have 2 options. We can either keep on the blindfold and not offend the customs, or we can risk a glimpse. Nathaniel gave you blindfolds for a reason, and yet here you hang, suspended by forces unknown and carried through a territory incognita. You move your hand to your blindfold and wait, listening to discover whether your action has been noticed. Nothing. Quickly, you slip the cloth upwards and see... You travel through a city of ruin and dust. Half collapsed. Colossal domes sink into the wilderness of roses and rotten trees. Vast vaults and ornate mausolea yawn at the cavern roof. A few stone buildings survive. From their appearance, they must be very ancient indeed. There are fires in the ruins, dancing lights in the dark. Shadows move through the tumbled boulevards. Elsewhere, the dead linger. Yawning skulls watch from empty arches. Skeletons slumber in ruined beds, strewn with dead roses. You risk a glance upwards and stare into the eyes of a golem, a vast clay husk that marches inexorably through the ruins. Its eyes are mirrored glass. Blindfold. the golem rumbles in Nathaniel's voice. Whoops, he noticed. It's fine though, look, think of all the interesting things we just learned. Hours later, you are brought to an abrupt halt. You feel yourself gently lowered onto soft earth. Nathaniel's voice rumbles from above. You can take your blindfolds off. Vision returned. You see that you stand on the edge of a dark jungle. Gossamer strands of silken webs shine in a strong southerly light. Beside you, the princess takes a deep breath. Her eyes close and she kneels for a second, hands digging into the soil. Behind you, a great stone figure is already retreating, disappearing into the dark of under a bar. Well, we can await our contact. The injurious princess's friends in Vestia are to spirit you to the tyrant's palace of sighs. They are expecting you here. You wait on Vestia's border for some time. The princess attempts to disguise her increasing agitation by telling jokes. Unfortunately, humor is an unfamiliar art to her. You spend much of that time searching for the punchlines. Eventually, a white coach arrives, drawn by a bulbous red spider. An ancient woman descends from the cab and embraces the injurious princess. "How you've grown," she says wonderingly. "And just in time, too. The house is on a brink of collapse. The wretched woman will bring this country to its knees." The princess makes a quick introduction to you, and then hurries you aboard. The party at the palace is hours away. The coach interior is weathered and scarred. The leather of the seats is torn. Webs cling to the windows. The driver, the princess explains, is always on the move and often hunted. The princess explains the next stage of the plan to you. The carriage has permission to enter the grounds, but to enter the building for the party, an invitation must be secured. There will be guests in attendance that the princess thinks can help. You will also need to bring a gift to gain admittance. The tyrant has requested that every guest bring a spider, though has not explained why. Happily, however, the palace grounds contain a great number of spiders. You'll have to go hunting. Well, let's progress to the Palace of Sighs. A long ride through the Trappstein forests lies ahead. The coach passes through vast forests, hung with webs and lost jewels. You see great stone houses rising through the canopies. These are the old silk houses, built like castles, commanding the heights of Vestia. A great river runs through a valley, the colour of obsidian. The injurious princess passes the first few hours pointing out sights to you, sharing stories and fables like an eager tour guide. She lapses into silence as you get near the palace, lost in her own thoughts. She fiddles with a veil with evident frustration. It is her disguise for the evening. And then, several hours later, as you are tending towards sleep, you arrive before the gates of an ornate green stone palace. The carriage carries you before a stone terrace. A clamour of guests and light and music awaits. You have arrived. And I think this is a perfect place for me to end the first episode of this exceptional story. I hope you enjoyed it. The one thing I am going to say right at the end here is December. The Fallen London Advent Calendar is a thing. I thoroughly encourage you to check it every day if you're an active player of Fallen London. There is some very good stuff in there. That's going to date this so hard when at the end of December when it goes away, but you know, once a year. May as well point it out. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And as always, I'll see you next time.